Welcome back. Our next student is Doug Harrison. Doug Harrison is a double bassist originally from Belmont, Massachusetts. He completed his undergraduate studies at Guilford College in Greensboro, North Carolina. After becoming one of the first called bassists in Greensboro, he moved back to Massachusetts to pursue music in his hometown. Doug looks forward to furthering his career and releasing original music after graduation. Doug's committee member is bass professor Bruce Gertz. His advisor is Professor Anastasia Petrova. Please welcome to the stage Doug Harrison.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Douglas Harrison, and I'm a master's candidate at the Berklee Global Jazz Institute. I'm excited to present my culminating experience project from the bottom up. I'd like to acknowledge the musicians that assisted me in this project. I was joined by Khalid Razik on trombone, Belle Thompson on trumpet, Guillaume Forti on drums, and my culminating experience advisor, Anastasia Petrova, on the composition Let Go. During my presentation, I will provide the goals of my project, a description of my work over the past year, my personal background and influences, and the conclusions I reached from my analysis. While I showcase my compositions, I will also discuss how they are influenced by my interview subjects. I grew up playing saxophones and began the study of the double bass in college. I began to study the bass when I realized that it was the sound that resonated with me the deepest, and that I was primarily listening to bass lines while listening to any styles of music. At the age of 18, I first heard the seminal albums The State of the Tenor by saxophonist Joe Henderson and A Night at the Village Vanguard by Sonny Rollins. These each feature a tenor trio, which features a tenor saxophone, bass, and drum kit. This is also known as a chordless setting. This setting exposes the sound of the bass in the rhythm section because it is the only harmonic instrument. This exposed setting can be daunting, and to pursue it, I redefined my sound concept over the past year with the assistance of Danilo Perez, Linda May Hano, Ben Street, Marion Hayden, and John Patitucci. In addition to global jazz concepts, my influences for this project include the Wayne Shorter Quartet, the Mark Turner Quartet, Sonny Rollins Trio, John Patitucci Trio, the Linda May Hano Trio, and the Joe Henderson Trio. Except for the Wayne Shorter Quartet, all of these groups feature only a bass and a drum kit in the rhythm section. The goals of this project are to create an ensemble without a chordal instrument that utilizes global jazz concepts, including tetrachord-based harmonies, group interplay, harmonic motion by major thirds and minor thirds. To create music that emphasizes space, improvisation, and the interaction of a small ensemble. To create spontaneous counterpoint with soloists. To discuss chordless settings with global jazz bass players. To analyze bass players in chordless settings, and to develop global jazz bass etudes for myself and future students. So I split the goals of my project into three components. First is analysis. I analyzed performances of bassists in chordless ensembles and compared them to their performance choices made in ensembles featuring a piano or guitar. Furthermore, I was able to speak with BGJI bass artists in residence, John Patitucci, Marion Hayden, and Ben Street about these concepts and their personal philosophies regarding the bass in a global jazz context. I was also able to speak at length on this topic with virtuoso bassist Linda May Hano, who was my private instructor. Second, I composed music for a chordless ensemble utilizing global jazz concepts despite not having a chordal instrument. And third, I composed etudes for myself. My first mentor that I would like to discuss is Marion Hayden. Marion Hayden is a bass player and educator from Detroit, Michigan, and an artist in residence at the BGJI. Marion aspires to be a foundational bass player, to provide the ensemble with the confidence of knowing she will always be there for support. Marion inspired this first piece to feature more compositional aspects in the solo section, a great example of comprovisation. This composition, Otis's Tune, features a bass ostinato in 3/4 over a 16th note feel. It was also influenced by a lesson in which Maestro Danilo Perez encouraged me to treat composition as arriving to our ideas rather than improving our ideas. The solo changes transition from a 4-bar repeated F blues tonality to E flat major, and then to E major over D. This then darkens again. Thank you. Linda May Hano is a contemporary bassist and composer. As my instructor, Linda recommended that I compose contrafacts, or new melodies on existing chord changes, that would push my capabilities as an improviser in a chordless setting. The following composition, ANJP, was composed over the harmonic structure of Billy Mintz's composition, Flight. The harmonic structure of this piece features tonal centers shifting by minor thirds and harmonic motion that expands and contracts in an asymmetrical manner. The piece has a time signature of 7/4. With this rhythm, we were able to switch between a walking feel, a 7/4 clave, and a rhythm that combines the two, as you will hear. Next is bassist Ben Street, who is the first person to show me that the lines I have been transcribing and playing my entire career can be considered tetrachords, which are 4-note groupings separated by up to an augmented fourth. This realization was a breakthrough for me and has significantly influenced my playing and the etudes that I have been creating. The compositional process for this piece, Shimmer, started with the D augmented tetrachord. I then expanded the harmony with the melody ascending and the bass line descending. The chords in the A section start with a 4-bar phrase, and the following 4 bars transpose down a minor third. The B section transitions into a 12/8 pattern in the drums, and there are horn lines throughout this piece that employ counterpoint. Virtuoso bassist John Patitucci is an artist in residence at the BGJI. He shared a tremendous amount of time with me discussing his trio and experiences in many ensembles. John made suggestions to the next two pieces, Let Go and Four Titles, in ensemble rehearsals and workshopped several bass lines with me. He's also the first bass player to show me his own personal tetrachord etudes. This piece starts with a melody that originally was written as a waltz for our social activism course. The dark A minor A section shifts to a G dominant sound without brightening the harmonies, only shifting the roots. The final section gets much brighter, being composed with a bitonal E major and C sharp major sound. This also features metric modulation between 7/4 and 4/4. This is my final composition, Let Go. This is my only composition to feature a piano played by my advisor, Anastasia Petrova. This features a tetrachord in the bass motion, darkening sounds in the solo section. We use silence throughout the composition and improvisation, counterpoint, and group improvisation. These are the conclusions that I reached from this project. Every bassist surveyed for this project believes it is imperative to be able to sing the lines that you play to internalize them. All transcriptions and interviews led to the conclusion that bassists in chordless ensembles utilize the same methods and serve the same harmonic purpose that they do in other ensembles. Therefore, bassists use the same vocabulary and lines in both settings. The lack of a chordal instrument adds more space to an ensemble that soloists can explore, but the bass must still provide the same harmonic support and structure. The differences lie in the communication between the bassists and the rest of the ensemble, especially the soloists. The soloists listen exclusively to the bass players in this setting for harmonic support, and the interactions generate spontaneous counterpoint. Finally, many bass lines originating in the bebop era that are still used today can be described as tetrachords. Upon graduation, I have the following plans: to perform the music from this project in an ensemble with similar instrumentation. I intend to use my findings and methods to develop a publication with etudes based around jazz bass tetrachords. This will be available to my students, and it will be accessible at the BGJI. I will continue developing a personal bass method, including arco or bowed etudes. I will digitize my transcriptions and post them online. I have a lesson plan for a masterclass using tetrachords as the basis for jazz bass lines. And finally, I would like to teach the course that I propose for Marco Pignataro's performance pedagogy class, featuring chordless ensemble interactions with an accompanying student ensemble. I would like to thank Professors Danilo Perez and Marco Pignataro, my advisor Anastasia Petrova, my panelists Bruce Gertz, Professor Bruno Roberg, artists Linda May Hano, Ben Street, Marion Hayden, John Patitucci, and all of our visiting artists over the past year. Lastly, I thank my wife, Allie, and my friends, family, and classmates who have supported and inspired me over the past year. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, Doug. Congratulations. I would like to give the word to our first panelist, Professor Bruce Gertz.
Doug, that was fantastic. The sound of the bass is beautiful on those recordings. And I love the space, so I can hear each voice so clearly. Did you say that was recorded here at Berklee?
Studio A, yeah.
Man, that's excellent recording.
Thank you, yeah.
Quality is so good. Is that the bass right there?
That's the bass.
Yeah, you found it, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I've known Doug for a long time and seen him go through a few basses to get to that one. Yeah, it's gorgeous sound. Really, really nice. As a writer and a player myself, I love the term comprovising. I love that. I've never thought of that word before, but I've done a lot of clinics myself talking about improvising and composing and how they relate and all that. I hope you don't mind if I steal that.
It's not my term.
Oh, okay.
I owe that to Maestro Danilo.
Yeah. So every tune, the interplay was just spectacular. And the writing was really interesting with all the counterpoint. And I'm curious, I have a question for you. I know this could be hard to answer, but what processes lead you to the bass grooves and time signatures that you use?
Yeah, great question. They're all different in a certain way. For example, the first composition, Otis's tune, that came really from working with Professor Danilo and Adam Cruz in a directed study, working on a bayao time and really emphasizing every 16th note. So that really started working on a 16th note bayao feel. We were working on classmate Gabriel Maya's composition, or an Edu Lobo composition at first that Gabriel bought. And it was really inspired by that. So that's Otis's tune. Shimmer, they all have. Yeah, please.
I wanted to ask, for instance, you did one song where you metrically modulated between 4 and 7.
Yes.
So did you come up with that just playing, or did you write that first?
I was really just experimenting in 7 when I wrote it, and the modulation came from trying to get from 7/4 to 4/4. That the groove was already there. I just subtracted, it's a measure of 5 to get to the 4/4. So I just took off really the last note to get to 4/4. So I felt that was the most natural way to me to get there. So it's the same groove. I changed a little bit of the line in the way it was constructed to outline it more clearly to the musicians in the band. But I really just took off a note or
Yeah.
a whole
beat.
note to get there.
It felt good. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah. And I like the walking in 7. That was cool too.
Thanks.
Tetrachords. I think you've got great variety of musical concepts from which you can continue to build. You know, and I'm really proud that you did such a great job with that. And I'll put my other comments in my analysis. You know.
Okay.
But yeah, fantastic, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Bruce. Up next, we have Doug's advisor, Anastasia Petrova.
Doug, congratulations. This has been such a journey, and what a fantastic presentation. I'm very proud of you. It's been such a pleasure working with you, and I personally want to thank you for taking me on this journey too, because as a chordal instrument, this was quite an interesting, fascinating journey, especially that I've been playing organ a lot, so I'm a bass player and I'm a soloist without chordal support, and my trio does not have a chordal instrument. So it's been very fascinating to see everything we've talked about coming out in my playing this whole year, which is really, really interesting. I'm sure if it opened my eyes, it will open the eyes of other people, because this journey started for me from Nadia Perez encouraging us to see the instrument more than what the instrument can offer. Then I mentioned Noam Preminger, who also encouraged me to look into single note lines, be non-piano, on the piano. So thank you for doing that too. Just really thinking outside of the box, making us think that way. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to say that it's incredible to see this become such a system, such a method, because in the beginning of the journey in September, we had so many ideas, and I had a really hard time seeing how would all of this come together. Interviews, transcriptions, wow, etudes, amazing. What else? We need 100 slides to cover all of this. And all of this seems so separated. What are we going to do? So this panic mode was really was keeping me at night, you know. And it's so great to see it. Like this makes so much sense. I'm sure none of us in the room have a question of the connection between any of the elements that you put together. So congratulations on really seeing the big picture behind all of this. And lastly, I would like to ask you a question, because you mentioned you're putting together a series of etudes for bass players, and that will be available for BGGI students as well as for your private students. Could you talk a little more about that?
Of course. Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you for everything you've done for me over this past year, because I wouldn't have been able to get here without you, so thank you. Yeah, I have, first of all, I started to organize the tetrachords that we see most often in bass lines. So, Maestro, I'm sorry I don't have A1, A2 tags on them yet, because I'm really thinking about them at this point from where they're coming and where they're going. So for me, that's, even if you look at, for example, the first tetrachord I have labeled G7 descending, it's a D minor tetrachord walking down from G. So these are the lines that we often see, and there are many more, but these 8 I really chose because we see them the most often in bass lines. So the first step was to take these lines, organize them, and start to look at the different ways they can be used. And it's not just root movement. It can be voice leading from thirds to sevenths, from sevenths to roots. It can really just depend on the tune, where you're going, and it really helps with inversions. So I have 3 etudes in this presentation, and the one that I'd really like to share is this one, which starts out, it's basically a walking line that goes from C minor to F to B flat. So this one, it's the first line is one of the most common lines you can hear, which is just horizontal, stepwise motion. Now, I started to break them up, looking at them as tetrachords, and that really unlocked the possibilities of voice leading to different inversions to me. So I'd like to play first the first line up here, and then all the notes in these four systems are the same, just in different orders. And that's really what unlocked different sounds for me. Those are the same notes in all the same measures with a completely different sound. And that's really what Ben Street inspired me to think about. It's not horizontal and it's not vertical, it's sounds. And that's when I realized that I kind of went back to square one with all of this. And that's where I started with these etudes.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Anna, for the question. Up next, we have our professor and faculty member, Patricia Zarate.
Congratulations, Doug. I just have three small comments. I didn't know you played tenor sax. I would love to hear you play tenor sax at some point. I can totally see now why you like the trio setting, especially after the trio of Sonny Rollins. Yeah, that's such powerful thing. I can totally see. Also, I wanted to mention and recognize that you mentioned five mentors, 3 of them women, 2 bass players and Anastasia. So I just want to, mention that because that has taken a lot of time, effort, and pain, and you're here, part of that change. You're part of that change. Thank you. And my last comment is that I want to thank you also for, even under the most chaotic circumstances, you always kept the cool. Like you were always cool, respectful, and very, just a very solid person, like the bass in a band. So congratulations for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing your music and hearing your music in the future.
Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank you, Patricia. I would like to present our artistic director, Danilo Perez.
Doug, wow, this is, I'm like still finding words to describe it, but I hear and I feel you and your sound on the bass as one. Your demeaning from the first day is, I always think that it's a challenge when you are in a school for so long to be in an input mode, but you have the input mode at the highest. You're just grabbing things and throw me things, bring it on. And your attitude, the way you stand up, like that same attitude you have, and I want to encourage to keep it. Don't ever leave that, because there's one university we can't graduate. It's the University of Life. That one don't give a master or anything. But if you remember that it's a mystery. Life is a mystery. It's the art of living where we are doing. The use of space, man, is so wonderful, the way you are approaching every little moment to have direction, to have intention. Congratulations. I think you really got a lot in that sense. Everything you're playing has intention, has a place. And the note, the space, the notes, we talk about that, the space. Also, the writing. I wanna really, really point that out. The writing is fantastic. There's a couple of these songs that are just beautiful, and it's nice to hear that space. And also, it was a nice contrast with the piano. So you're using a lot of drama, contrast, rhythm. As Maestro Bruce said, you have a lot of concepts coming at you. You have You have set up chapters of books here to develop for the rest of your life. And the one thing that Bruce also said, that you are combining something that is mystical to me, which is the music transcends what it is. You know, nobody's in the audience saying, "Oh wow, it's a tetrachord and the light on the dark. It's the major." It's only us inside the room who cares for that, but they are fighting to unite it into a musical statement that makes sense and move people. And you are accomplishing that. It's incredible that you can explain it too. You don't have to apologize for the A, B, B1, B2. You are making the music feel that way, you know? So another thing I want to say, to point out what Anastasia said, you went from chaos to order. You can never make any innovation or any type of without chaos from order. You got to start there, and you did that. Congratulations. I saw you working in Panama. You carry the flag of the BGGI to the highest level. I am very grateful that you chose us to be a part of your life in this moment and chapter of this book that you're writing. And everything you're doing with the bass is intentional. It has meaning, and I'm proud of. And bass players with that kind of attitude make us look good. Piano players, because we can play the best tetrachord, whatever we think is the most beautiful, but if the bass players sabotage that sound, it is not happening. You're working in how important the bass is in this music and how it transcends all these kind of challenges. You're giving life to a new space for that instrument. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to play together.
Thank you, sir.
I'll see you.
Maestro, thank you for everything, and everyone here, thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure to be part of this.
Thank you, Doug. Another round of applause for Doug, please.